Hello friends, we're back with another interview episode. This time I sat down with Jacky Godoffe in Arco, which was many weeks ago, but the topic is still relatable and up to date. It's about setting World Cups, routes, boulders, how he got into setting, how setting changed over the last couple of years, and the Olympic Games and the speed climbing route, which he designed. It was really cool to see Jacky again, so maybe I'll interview him sometime soon again in the future. So if you have any questions I should ask him, let me know. Otherwise, please enjoy the video. The sound is a little bit rubbish, I have to admit. I had two microphones, one on my body, one on his body. Mine didn't work, so I had to tweak a little bit. Yeah, I will improve this for the future, so enjoy this interview. And if you haven't seen any of the other interviews, you can find them here, or you want to take a look at the Arco World Championship of the Youth, you can find that somewhere here. So yeah, enjoy. See you soon. Bye.
Hello friends, hello world. Today I'm sitting here with Jacky Godoffe, one of the not oldest setters, but you're doing this.
Yes, I do. I assume that. No problem.
What I wanted to say is you're doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah, quite a long time. Yes, 20 years, a little bit more, maybe. Yeah.
And do you still remember the first time you were setting?
Oh yes, I remember really well the first time I was setting. It was for the French Championship, and I did a really very bad route. And okay, I asked myself maybe I should stop, and then I decided to try to. Yes, not to give up immediately. But the first experience was, I would say, super bad. So it was a good start. I could be better.
What happened?
The route was way too hard. Especially, I remember it was in the first clip. I think maybe in amongst the 8 finalists, probably only one passed the first clip. It was a little bit too hard. So okay.
So, but when you were testing it, you were able to climb it?
Oh, yeah, it was super easy, but I think we were with some friends, and it was some of our specific skills at this moment. Dynamic move with very risky move at the first clip. It was not a good idea, so most of the people felt here, and it was a disaster. But so I realized that I could be better, and if I still set, it's just because I think I could also be better now. So
was it like your worst incident you had? Like something went wrong with the comp, like this? Was it the worst thing what ever happened?
I don't know what is the best and the worst, but in any case, in any field, you learn when you fail. Yeah. So it's good to fail, and it's very interesting because it's not the fail that is a problem, it's your understanding of why you failed, and then what you can do to try to fix to reach your goals. So for me, it was really interesting, and I still fail a lot of times, and I failed a lot of times during my routesetting career. And probably I will do it for long.
But how came you started immediately for French national competition?
Just because I think I was appointed. I was teacher before, and I passed a gradation to become a national trainer. And then they asked me if I would like to be setter for the French league championship. I said, why not? I could try. And I tried, but in fact I didn't have any experience. I was just at this time, I would say, probably a super strong climber. And so for me it was I would say that I was not in the way that I set for the others. It was more between me and myself. So it's totally wrong. I know that now, but I didn't realize that at this moment. So it was a good start because then I realized immediately that I had to do something if I want to continue to set, and but I didn't have any doubt. It was very attractive. Yeah.
What makes it so interesting for you?
The uncertainty, yeah, definitely, because even with if you are really experienced, you never sure exactly about what will happen, and this is very exciting. You have some tricks, you have some experience of things that happened in the past that can make you better, but anyway, it's a human experience between a team and some people sometimes that you know really well, some people that you have no idea about how they are, and this is really interesting. This team process, and at the end the uncertainty about the results. You can do everything right, but in the last part you never know what will happen exactly. Never.
When was it again, this competition?
Probably in 1992 2 or 3 or 4, kind of. Yes.
So you were setting lead for François Legrand, I guess?
Yes, yes, and he didn't win this competition. I think it was it was Boulder specialist that won this competition because he was the only one to pass these crooks. It was okay. But
anyway, but in 1992 there wasn't an IFSC yet, right?
No. No. It was only another circuit, kind of experimental circuit, and there we really didn't set for bouldering. It was just for lead. So all the beginning of my climbing career, as my route setting career, was on lead. So I set a lot of lead camp from 1992 to for 10 years, and then bouldering appears on the scene.
Yeah. And how did you? I think nowadays you're just setting boulders.
Yes, I love to set lead, but the fact is I don't practice. So because I live in Fontainebleau, I still can climb a lot in Fontainebleau. So I'm really connected to this for long. So it's easier for me, even if I really like to set also for lead. But it needs to climb and to know the level and to know the climbers, which is not my case, absolutely not.
Do you have a favorite circuit in Fontainebleau?
No, it's the same than for Routesetting. I think I climbed here for more than 35 years, and I always, I always like to do different things. And even if the forest is such a big one that I can climb in different boulders. So no, I don't have any favorite. I like to be surprised by things in general, not only by climbing. So.
Because I always love like Routesetting. The red one in Routesetting, it's so beautiful.
Yes, for me, I changed a little bit at the beginning when I climbed, when I was the stronger. I like to set new things, hard things, and now I really like to be surprised by moves. So to try boulder that I did maybe 20 years ago, but not super hard necessarily, but strange moves, to have this in mind, because I think for setting, inspiration comes from apart from the rock. Not for everything, but apart comes from the rock for me. So I think it's interesting to mix this rock culture plus the new styles. It's really cool to play with that.
Yeah. How was it for you, like not discovering the new style? Like there were people running on rock like Johnny Dawes in the end of the 80s. So I think it's not, for me, like a lot of people always complain that I used to set a lot of run jump stuff, and it's parkour. But how did it feel for you, like doing stuff like this on an artificial wall?
It's just funny. I think as long as you can surprise the climbers and define, we define the playground. So this playground, for me, maybe I'm a little bit old school, this playground needs to be surprising for spectators, for athletes, and also for setters. So if you want to not to be bored but what you are doing, you need to find new things, to mix new things. It's like a DJ, you mix different elements, and it's very good to try. Sometimes you don't succeed. What you try is not adapted. It's maybe you are too in advance in your time, or you are too late, but it's good to play with. I really love that. So for me, it's not the matter to say. People think that I love to set slabs, but what is crazy is yes, I love to set slabs because it was unusual maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, but in fact I hate to climb in slabs in front. So for me it's just, the matter to introduce something different and to try to surprise people. For me it's my main goal, to surprise people. I love that.
Oh, that's a good expression, surprising people, because in a competition you kind of play with like a lot of assumptions of a competitor. Some competitors arrive at a competition and they're like, oh, I'm so strong, I'm in such a good shape, and then they get thrown off the slab and stuff like this.
Yeah, and additionally, this is my personal goal. But when I work with a team, I also really love to take something from every people that are here, to introduce again, to make the mixing, the mixing game attractive, exciting, and it's not all about me. Every person with the most experienced one is nothing without the others. So we need other people to make the things better, different. So I love to play with people.
I want to come back a little bit to the IFSC or the bouldering start of with the IFSC. Can you describe, or do you still remember your first IFSC bouldering World Cup?
Maybe the Not really. I think it was at this time, maybe when I set the first competition, it was the early beginning, so we always arrived in the place with weird things, everything was late, we didn't have the mats, we didn't have appropriate holes, sometimes I have to come with specific holes that I have from my friend, so everything was to be written somewhere, so it was very exciting, and sometimes I arrive in some countries with people that never set things, so yeah, it was exciting, but it was, it needs the first step. So this was very exciting. Now it becomes more and more professional. But most of the time, I would say in the early beginning, we didn't have time. We didn't have a lot of setter, a lot of good material, and a lot of good walls. So, and we have to do something with that. And again, it was, I would say, super hard, but also super exciting. Yeah, super exciting.
So you said you were setting World Cups with people who never set before?
It happens sometimes. I remember some competition in Bulgaria, for example, or in some countries. Yes, these people set in their place, but they didn't have any idea about the level or about what they could do, and it was really interesting. Yeah, interesting. Sometimes, most of the time, weird, but interesting. And now I realize at what point each setter in each country became professional, and now when you arrive in any country, people are good setters. They know the things. It's more and more professional.
Do you feel like every country has a different setting style or philosophy?
I would say yes. Yes, of course, because it depends on the culture. For example, in France, we had the culture of climbing outside. So the setting is really influenced by this climbing culture outside. And the climbing outside in France is most of the time very technical. In US, for example, it's very physical, so that affects directly your way of setting. In some countries, in the Netherlands, for example, they don't have rocks, so their setting culture comes from the gym. But again, there is not good and not bad things, just different things. I remember the first time I've been in US, for example, they never use any volume, and they told me, "Arco, why did you use this volume? I think climbing has to be powerful, spectacular." Okay, it was really cool, but now I think they also learned that it was needed to have something different than only the American style. And the same, we understood also that it was very important in Europe to have this American style, for example, that is really spectacular, and so it's a mix. It's a mix.
Good mix, but I still feel so a lot of countries like caught up, for example, on the movement or on the volume, but they still have their own, a little bit of like their own ingredient. Like when I watch an American, the Whale World Cup, for example, I'm still watching an American kind of World Cup influenced by the setting, and I still like it because you feel like the material and stuff like this.
Yeah, and I think this is very important because in any case, because in climbing we are really lucky to have to be able to build this playground, and this playground, it's interesting that is not absolutely similar every time. Otherwise, that will be very boring to watch and very boring to set. So we have a part of freedom, not a total part of freedom, but some part of freedom to introduce, special feelings, special guidelines from the country or the person, and this is very good. This is very good.
Talked about playgrounds, like when we are setting a competition, it's a playground as well, like just to get the best climber or best competitor out. Like, how do you try to set an even fair playground? Like, how do you?
I think the main thing with climbing, the hardest thing is that in every category you have very small climbers, very tall climbers, and this is the first thing that you have to take to keep in mind when you set. So honestly, it's impossible to be fair every time between small and tall. This is impossible in one boulder, for example, but it is possible in one circuit to make advantage from small and for tall. And now I would say at the early beginning it was a great advantage to be tall. Now I would say that if you're tall, it's more embarrassing. With the modern setting, I would say in general that the very tall people don't have any advantage. The very, very small don't have a lot of advantage too, but it's more in the middle. Just because I think we learn how to set to not to have this big advantage only for tall.
Yeah, if you're really tall, you don't fit into the boxes.
No,
and really, it looks really a little bit awkward. Sometimes I feel a little bit. Ooh.
Yep, yeah. Again, a climbing circuit or even a route, it's a sum of different movements. So in this movement, you can say, okay, this movement it's good when you're a little bit taller, but this one you have to put your foot here, close to your ear. So if you're tall and if you're not flexible, you couldn't do it. There is no way. Huh? Yes. So first, the size is important to take this into account, and then I would say that it's never the same process when you are setting. Sometimes it depends on the place you are. If the place is outside, inside, that can influence. Also the team you work with. So I would say that I don't have any routine for the setting. Sometimes just when I arrive to the place, I say, okay, I feel it like this. And sometimes I make some plan a long time in advance, just because I have a specific idea I would really like to try. But really depends, the way to approach route setting. There are a lot of different ways to approach a setting, and I try to never to do the same. So not to get bored. So.
Or what did you improve most of in the last couple of years when it comes to route setting? Is it like working better with it? Yeah.
I think the main thing I learned is to hear the others and to feel that sometimes I have a feeling, but if the team around me has another feeling, I have to follow the team, and to be confident on the others and not to feel only strong because I have this feeling and I have this experience. So it's more I don't know how to tell you that, but it's to feel the flow of the team. Sometimes maybe I think that I'm right, but I rather like to follow the team, not to break this flow for the round. So. And also to look at the others. And the main thing I learned with the time is to try to be very fast to set, to have additional time to discuss with the other, and also you know what I mean. Sometimes when you are doing something, you are facing your problem, and it's hard to have the distance and. I really try when I do something to be in action, and in the same time I watch myself when I do this action in the same time. So this distance is for me it's one of the things I learned to do. Not only to be in face to the wall with this very narrow space, but in the same time to look at myself and say, okay, Amen, you're wrong. Try to do it differently. 2% in the same time, and if you're fast to define the first draw of your setting, you have the time to do that and to say a little bit the things from far and say, okay, wow, no, this is not a good idea, or this is a good idea, and this is very important, to have this distance. And it's really not that easy to do sometimes when you're in the process. It's not that easy.
Yeah. It also, I think, requires on the kind of like openness of yourself, or like the commitment of yourself, that your problem is open to be like tweaked as much as possible. Because a lot of setters are like, okay, I want to make my problem perfect, and then I take a look around what happens around me. But I think you're more able to have more time for the team or with the team if you put up a draft, which has.
Definitely, you're right. I think the problem, and it's the main difference between the early beginning of the setting. At this time, when we started setting each setter, it was a kind of a piece of art, everyone needs to define the best boulder ever, but now we know that this best boulder is just, okay, maybe one boulder, one move can be super cool, but in fact it's the sum of everything, and the whole competition that is important to be successful, and it's important to forget what you set. So what you set is just a proposal, and then the other make it better, and sometimes the other say, okay, maybe we have to give up with this one and to do another one. So this is a very important part of the process, and everyone is way better for this now than in the past. We are faster. We are faster, and we are really more open to the other opinions. And it's good to act like this.
You said faster and quicker. Like, can you? Like, I know sometimes how long it takes to set for a World Cup, but can you tell me briefly, or tell us, how long it takes? For example, we're in Arco right now. You are setting for the World Youth Championships, and how many days are you setting?
Now we had 10 days of setting with 10 setters with 96 boulders to set. So in theory we had to set more or less 8 boulders per day, then to strip it, to pitcher, and to every day. So it's a long process, and what is harder, we don't set a lot of boulders personally, but we have to do a lot of adjustments in the circuit we are setting. So it's the time, but this competition, this World Championship, is very specific setting. I don't know if it's the harder, but in fact it's the longest effort because it's a kind of marathon. You know, in the beginning you have fresh ideas, you have fresh skin, everything is fresh. But after 5 or 6 days, and then you know that you have to repeat this. It needs to be a little bit experienced, not to lose after the third day the motivation and also the power, because it's a very long effort. It's not only it's not harder, but it's very different kind of effort than in a World Cup when you have just 3 rounds to set. It's less boulder. You put more intensity in the work. Now you have to play with not to be too. To spend too much energy in the first day, to keep the energy for the rest of for the beginning of the competition, for example, because it's totally this competition. It's close to 3 weeks of effort. It's a kind of marathon, kind of a marathon.
Like, not like losing too much power instantly. What do you think is like one of the main mistakes like younger setters are doing nowadays?
To push too hard at the beginning, yes, of course, because when you're strong, most of the setters I set with are always stronger than me, because I mean about the physical abilities, but they just don't know themselves, and they didn't try this kind of competition. And it's something that I try to explain them at the beginning, but it's super hard. At the beginning you're very fresh, very excited, you want to pull, to climb everywhere, but in fact you have to remember that it's not your climbing that is important, it's the result. So at the end you need to be efficient in we didn't work personally during the World Youth Championship in 96 boulders, but with half of this. But even for 48 boulders, you need to be efficient in all these 48 boulders. Maybe not all the time to climb. Sometimes you can be efficient just watching the others. It's not necessary it's not compulsory to climb in every move. Sometimes you can see 2 persons from different size doing one thing, and so you can have. It's not necessary for you to climb. You can just have an opinion and maybe say, okay, let's do it like this. And it's important to be quiet with this. I think it's not a mistake. It's good to be. It's good for the young setters to be really fresh and excited to climb. But it's also good to be efficient for long. So, but this one again is a very specific comp. It's a unique comp, and it's. I don't know if it's one of the hardest. Probably about it's the longest. But yeah, it's one of the hardest, I would say. In any case, it's harder than to set any World Cup.
We have Youth B, Youth A, Junior, and this in 2 genders, so 6 categories. 6 categories. So. And that makes it like a big workload, I guess.
Yes, and see, again, it's just harder because in a normal competition you only have two chances to succeed or to fail. Here you have 6. So in the statistic, when you know that it's not an exact science, that means I would say it's very hard to be really good and to reach your goals in every round of these 6 categories. It's super hard, but it's exciting to try. But
okay, this is a special case, but how do you usually, or maybe also in this case, like how do you start the setting? Do you start with the qualifications, semi-finals?
In general, we start with the reverse order of the competition because we have to reuse some volume. So again, this one is a lot about logistics, so it depends on the material you have, and really depends. There is no only one way to do it, but in general, we start with the reverse order of the competition, and we finish by the first one of the competition that has to be held. So this is more, this is better in general. So we start with, I don't know what we started probably with the last final, so the you say female, yes, the last final of the day, and then step by step with some plans and adjustments of the plan, because you have and it's very important this kind of competition to have a very good plan, yes, with a good organization, but then you have to all the time to readjust the plan every day.
And what's the management like? You always have like there's one head setter?
So in this case, we divided our team. We are 10 setters. We divided the team by two team of 5 setters, and each team is in charge of 3 categories. That's it, from the beginning to the end of the competition. And in this team, I know that for me, I put a chief setter in charge of define the styles, define the goals, define the orientation, the decision, and manage the team. So because I think it's good for, even we have some trainees here that would be hopefully will be international setter next year, and it's important for them to be in this situation, because for me that has no sense to be in charge of everything. I already experimented this a lot of times, so I let, in this case, the opportunity to be in charge, and also with the judges to see the problem, because it's very important. It's a big part of the experience to do that, and I think also for them it's really exciting. I hope so. So
you said you hope them to become an international route setter.
It's not.
People ask me, how do you do that? How do you become an IFSC route setter?
Now the way to become IFSC route setter is to have experience during international competition with international setters, and then according to the reports, after some competition, each federation can propose a list of names to IFSC, and in this list of names you can become a trainee for 1 year, and if you work well, then you are an official IFSC setter. It happened this year with 5 new trainees that were introduced, and it's very good to have new blood in the game, and I hope it will be the same next year to have new ones. So it's more or less the actual system. Before we had international route setting courses organized every year or every 2 years to become setters, but then IFSC decided to have another system. So this one is the normal system, and hopefully that will give the chance to new and young setters to go into the game. If you go to IFSC website, somewhere in the website you have the IFSC route setting career that is written somewhere. You can find it now. It's written. So if you write this, you know how to do it. So you need to be volunteer for a moment.
Go out, volunteer, and then you can become a route setter.
But you know, it was the case for most of the route setter at the beginning. When I started, I was also kind of a volunteer because you know, when you really want to become a route setter, you have to do a personal effort, at least for the beginning, and then you can be paid for that if you work well. So it's the way it works.
And you are a professional route setter nowadays as well? My main work for the French Federation is route setting, but I wouldn't say that I'm professional route setter, because I don't set for any gym. I set I'm in charge of the training climbing center in Fontainebleau, and I do a lot of setting. But yes, the main thing I do is route setting, but I'm not a classical professional setter that set in the gym for commercial setting. No. So I'm very lucky to have this opportunity to set in this special place, because I think it's kind of unique place in the world where we can set only for team, and I really like also to travel in other countries to organize workshops and to organize kind of route setting clinics, because for me I always think that I have something to learn to the other one, but I still have something to learn. And I learn every time new tricks, new things. Every time. This time I learn a new trick. And in this competition, for example, I learned a new trick of route setting that I ever seen before. It was quite cool.
Yep.
Which is it?
Which is it? It's the fact when you try a jump, for example, you put a piece of tape on the wall to avoid when you try the jump many times that is too sharp on the wall. And I never seen that. It's the two Italians did that. So what are you doing? It's just to limit the pain on the wall when you try the move. Wow. Brilliant.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
No, neither did I.
I'm always complaining about the holes which are not tapered on the back, but this is...
This was very, 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 very clever and very simple, very easy.
Yeah.
And it's easy for the adjustment when you try many, many, many times. Obviously, when you let it for the climbing, you take it out. Yeah. But for trying, as you have to try it many, many times, you limit your skin
it's
power.
Also like if you put it in the first position and then afterwards you have to tweak it and you have to tweak it lower, you still know like where the old position
is. Yeah, so a new trick every time. So I'm still very curious. I really love to. I really love this game.
That's a good one. Well, people are interested whether you work with difficulties. So do you put grades on your boulder problems, or how do you?
Grades? No, it's not grade. I think I play more with constraints. So it's grade has no sense. Sometimes you could set a boulder that you could grade 6C and nobody could do it in 5 minutes. It's impossible to do this 6C in 5 minutes. It's not about the grade, it's about the constraint. So what is the move? And it's about if you play with risk, complexity, for example, and you have these elements. So for me it's very important, the constraints. So now I think especially in the top level, it's not all about only coordination, only power. Everything is mixed. So in every coordination, you need to be strong in finger. You need to be precise in your the way you move. You need to have a strong power leg. So for me, that has nothing to. The only point where you could use grades, it's for in case you set just basic style, physical style, you could maybe compare it, but that has no sense. Because if you want to. For me, what is interesting, if you know the field, if you know the climbers, and it's more or less my case, I know really well the skills of each climber, you can say, okay, this one, you can play with a bit of flexibility, a bit of power, a bit of a crimp, a bit of a pinch, and you really know that none of the climbers have all these abilities in the same time. So you try to mix all this to make something with a lot of constraint. This is what competition is, You need to be efficient in a limited time. So it's not connected to how hard are the boulder, but how you can be efficient in a short time. You have to make less mistake than the other one, and obviously to be stronger, but it depends on the. For me, it's a lot about this.
Regarding the time, do you miss the 4+ modus?
The
4+.
That doesn't make any difference. I think the climber
That's for you, like for the show, like. You miss it sometimes, like when you have the last boulder and you're like, okay, we're gambling for one starter who just enters the boulder at 3:58. You miss these moments.
Most of the time I watch a lot of the competition. I think the main problem in the bouldering competition it's too long, and I think people are not in action long enough. So the faster it is, the better it is. I think to watch. For me, if I watch a thing, if I see someone sit in the mat doing nothing, I just it's not interesting. Yeah. So. I think the format of the bouldering competition is at the moment, I would say it's hard to understand. It's a little bit too long. Yeah. So I don't know how this could be better, but this is the main limitation of the sport. It's super attractive, you have a lot of innovation in terms of movement, but most of the time people spend longer to do nothing than to climb, and this is something that could be a little bit better to have more action, and also for climbers. I think it's so it's the main limitation for me. 4 or 4+. At the beginning, I thought that maybe that could affect the level of the boulder, but that doesn't affect anything. Climbers adapt themselves to this, and this is very easy. It's not a problem.
Did you ever think about, like in America, I think they use a national scoring system with points or whatever, and like some people are asking for 2 different zones. What do you?
I don't know. I think it's a very complex problem. I think the system in US is really fair about how strong you can be in every boulder, because sometimes with one zone, it's obvious that one climber just grabbed the zone and another climber fell to the top. They didn't do the same performance, but they are in the same scoring. So this is a problem. But the main thing is not always possible to put two zones in every boulder, and it's already very complicated for people to watch and to understand what happens. So in the one hand, I think the American system is the more fair for athletes, but to watch then it's a strange calculation that you need to have a computer to know how to calculate. So this is impossible to understand. It's more fair about the climbing abilities, but at the end, when it turns to the result, you don't understand exactly why this one is better than this one, because you need again the computer to calculate the factor, the percentage of. So it's too complicated. So I think it needs to be easy to understand. And at the moment, one zone is even not that easy to understand for people. For me, I think in some cases that could be good to have two zones to have, but in some kind of boulders, it's pretty hard to put something. In some cases, it's totally impossible. So if you have a very short boulder with 5 moves, no way. So it's not always possible, and I don't know also how the scoring system will become. So I think first of all that could be simple, because at the moment when we see all the disciplines, lead is very easy to understand. Okay. Speed is very easy to understand. Bouldering is super hard to understand. Even when you're a specialist, sometimes I watch competition, it's impossible for me to realize if I don't have the scoring system, who is the best. So this is something that could be better, I think. I don't know why, but it could be interesting to make it more attractive to watch, exciting to watch. It's still too long and really tricky to understand.
I think we need more fire anyway. Fireworks when someone tops a little bit.
I don't know, some different system, maybe a better system, scoring system. I don't really know, but at the moment it's the main limitation of bouldering. It's hard to understand. And I'm a fanatic of bouldering, but I realize, okay, it's hard to watch, and sometimes, it can be boring to watch a lead route sometimes, but it can also be boring to watch a bouldering competition sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of people are complaining that climbing is not, sometimes too boring for Olympic sports, but if I watch another Olympic sport, for example, I love track and field, I love 100 meters, they just do one thing. I love swimming, they just do one thing. Some say yes, some say no. But what do you think of the Olympic combined format?
At the moment, I think it's. I don't know what to expect, because it's very new, so it needs a little bit of experience, and it's the first official one. But again, my first approach, I was just a spectator. Okay, speed is very easy to understand, lead is very easy to understand, and bouldering is a little bit too long and hard to understand. So that's it. And even if it's good or not, I don't know. It's not the point. I think it's cool to have the 3 disciplines at the same time. Maybe the rule format is a little bit too long in average. It's too long to watch in a row, because again it takes more or less 2 hours and a half, kind of. So it's really long, but it's still very exciting to see climbers in 3 different disciplines. This is cool. This is interesting. At the moment, the main limitation is just because the speed route is really different from the other sport, and it's maybe more or less my fault, but I didn't expect that this speed route, it was not made to be in a combined format. It was made at the beginning to make something totally different. So now when you mix something totally different to 2 disciplines, it makes something that is a kind of mess. But again, when I see the youth climber, now they are very good very fast in speed. So maybe it's not a problem. I don't know. It's too early to make conclusions. I think it's it's quite cool to see the 3 disciplines anyway.
Pretty
it's
amazing
easy
for the climbing sport.
Yes, and it's easy to think, I love this, I hate this, this is good, this is bad, but it's not that simple, it's not that easy. I think it's cool. All in all, it's very interesting to see these 3 disciplines at the same time. And probably we we should improve a little bit the bouldering to make it fit better in between these two disciplines. If climbing stays Olympic in this format, you know.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad that they already skip the speed for 2024 in Paris, or that it's like gets split into two.
I'm not sure that everything is written in the stone, because you know, we have to learn, and it's impossible to learn like this with just in 4 minutes. You need time to realize what happens. And
I just think of like people watching combined for the first time, that they actually think speed is like pretty cool. And then now 2024, because we are the climbing community and some people don't like speed mixed with the other traditional sports, they want to split it. But just think of like people are watching climbing for the first time, and then the second time they're like, why speed like split apart?
Yes,
that's what I'm thinking of, like, isn't it?
And again, it's not that easy to say, okay, I like this is good, I don't like this is bad. No, it's not that simple. Probably it needs some improvement, but it's quite a good start, I would say. I don't know how long it will stay like this, but at the moment it was not so bad. Obviously it was not perfect, but fortunately perfection doesn't exist, and there are a lot of room to improve.
What you said before, it's your fault. No,
yeah, because
you just joke. No, I think what some people might not know, like you shaped the holes for the speed climbing.
Yes, I shaped this, but yes, I had decided to design something totally different in one time for a speed route. So something similar to the 100 meter. So with a unique hold and just a race. So it turned slowly to the fact that it was mixed with other disciplines. So it's totally in contradiction with the first study. So, but then I think it doesn't fit so bad, because for the youth climbers, it's easy for them to be strong in 3 disciplines, and because they learn. So the fact to know if this route is good or not, I think it could be different, probably, but again,
it works, and it has different ways.
Yes, and it's really impressive to see the abilities of the speed climbers, and also the abilities of some climbers that are strong in boulder or in lead, and that can be super fast in speed. Because for me, you know, I did a lot of speed competition when I competed at the beginning, and I was very, very strong in speed, but just because I'd never trained in speed, just because I had a very, very strong fast fibers, and I was strong enough to be fast. That's it. So it's more about your personal coordination that you can be also good in speed. And speed is very interesting, I think, for the modern.
But the former speed competitions, can you describe quickly what a speed route looked like before we had this speed route?
Well, it was but the routes were different every time. It was on site, and they have 2 routes, and but it was quite cool. But it was more connected to normal climbing. It was a fast lead climbing, fast, easy lead climbing. Well, it was not really. It was cool because you have to adapt yourself every time. But the idea to have the record was quite exciting, and I think it's not, this route is not so bad. It's not perfect, and but if it stays like this, it's probably because people like it. And sometimes I discuss with the speed climbers, and I ask them, would you like to have a new one? And most of them say no, because we can be better in this one. For me, it's a mystery, but okay, I don't know what to expect.
But you wouldn't consider like extending the 100 meter into 110, because like 2 steps more would be nicer, right?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Like for me, it feels like it works, and especially with the combined, you see like the progress. There's Tomor coming, like a non-speed climber, like finding something new to do, and everyone is like, I'm doing the Tomor method.
And I think what is interesting, it's the kind of dramatic situation that is really different in speed, in bouldering, and in lead. And this dramatic situation is what I rather like to share with between athletes, spectators, in general. So it's important to have a kind of drama in everything, and it works not so bad.
No, it does not. It's really good. I like it. Jacky, I want to thank you for your time. I hope we will have an exciting bouldering round, which I'm looking forward to. I will not join them. I will try to show and see what they are doing, and just be there with my camera, and we will talk a little bit about the round. We did it already.
Yes, one keep figure crossed, and obviously we'll have some very good rounds, some rounds pretty medium, and maybe some more or less bad. So we are ready for that. You know, if you want to succeed, you need to be ready to fail. So
this is a nice thing. So thank you, Jacky, and thank you for watching. Have a good time, and see you soon.
See you.